Margaret's representing 2 submissions, so got 10 minutes. Yeah. And there's the 2 submissions, one following the other, on behalf of Project Lyttelton and on behalf of yourself.
Thank you very much for having me here. As Mayor Dalzell says, I'm here on my own account and also on Project Lyttelton's, and I'm talking about the same particular thing. And here goes. I'll see how good I am with this technology. So first of all, what I'm really on about is the Lyttelton Harbour Time Bank, which is part of Project Lyttelton, invites you as a City Council to become a Time Bank member. Now, why I'm suggesting that is, or how this could happen, is you could become a member within a community, such as one suburb, evaluate the benefits, and then consider being involved citywide. So I'm saying, why have a time bank? Why do this? And I've got here, it fulfills some of your strategic directions about a livable city, strong communities, healthy environment, and a prosperous economy. A time bank would fulfil all of those things. Some of the other reasons would be UK experience really shows quite strongly. There's a lot of involvement in UK between councils, or whatever they call them there, local bodies, or I suppose we call them that here too, and time banks. So there's a lot of research about that. The second point I want to make here is that Christchurch City Council has financial challenges ahead. Being a time bank member would facilitate a significant amount of work being done outside the traditional money system, a dollar saving for the City Council. Other reasons, it creates further citizen engagement, increases day-to-day requirements with the people of the city, and strengthens community development. Now, I'm talking about a time bank. I'm sort of assuming that you know what a time bank is. A lot of people know, but I'll just go over the main points with it. First of all, time bank is a proven tool for growing strong communities. It's individual or organisational members trade the skills they are willing to share. It's only what you want to share. It's not what you think you ought to. Work done is measured by the time it takes. So everyone's time is equal. It's a powerful tool, that aspect. Time banks are built on the concept of co-production. Everyone is a contributor. And this is where you start getting the community development happening, because everyone is a contributor. It's not sort of a top-down, we'll do for you. Everyone has got something to add to the city. And everyone has skills. Now, I've got here examples of how, if you became a time bank member, how this could work. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 different ways, this slide and then the next slide. So this slide's talking about, I'm just giving a few examples, whether these happen or not. It's just to give you in mind some ways to think about it. Time bank members could run local swimming pools. They could run recreation centres. They could organise parks and reserves in their area. They could prepare meeting places. Of course, all of this would have to be done in ways that comply with standards and so on. And in exchange, the council could offer any spare capacity of staff, so accounting, legal expertise, business advice, or you might want to run a course on something that's particularly dear to your heart, and then that could be given time credits for. So that's one way, the usual way of trading. The next way, comes out of the UK, way is where people in the city might do working bees for the whole city. And they won't necessarily be time bank members, but as a time bank group, you could issue time bank vouchers, and these could be the work be done, and then the people who do the work have a choice of what they choose. So it could be entries to swimming pools, entries to a festival. And I'm also suggesting that there might be partners that you want to join with, like I've put here as an example, the Antarctic Centre, or restaurants who have spare capacity at a strange part of the day. They could give vouchers to the city, and they could be given to people in return for the work. So it's really moving in a different economy. Now, I've put here the next steps should this council be open to this idea. That you agree in principle to the idea of becoming a Time Bank member, that the Lyttelton Harbour Time Bank provides basic information and further reading. We've got a lot of information there. The council identifies some champions within the council. Needs to have drivers within your organisation, but it wouldn't need many. You'd sign up as a Time Bank member within the Lyttelton Harbour Basin Time Bank, because that's one that's going strongly. It's got over nearly 670 members, so it's quite strong. It's also the first one in New Zealand. Christchurch City Council starts trading, and at the same time you start evaluating the exercise and see how it's working for you, and then if it's working for you, you can expand it out to the whole city. Now, I'm aware that you're looking at other complementary currencies, and I think they're wonderful. I'm thinking this is a good first step because it's easy as. Right, last one here. Are there any questions? I've got a picture of the Winter Festival of Lights, and I've got an example of where Time Bank's helping deliver a rich experience for the city. Thank you.
Well, Margaret, I mean, I just always am impressed by the quality of your presentations, but this is the first time that you've asked the city to become a member of the Time Bank, and I wondered how that would look, and so I've been looking forward to this submission. Having, reflected on the experience after the earthquakes, the other thing that perhaps wasn't mentioned in that was the incredible resource the Time Bank was. You knew where all the skill sets were, you knew where they lived, you knew what they were prepared to share with their community at the time the earthquake struck. And I think that's just adding another layer of resilience to a community that wouldn't otherwise have been there.
And that knowledge has gone right through the US, through the FMA. They're talking about that example of what Time Banks can do in times of disaster.
Yeah, and I know that Councillor Manges raised this question of the alternative currency and or complementary currency, and this idea of sort of working as a community to contribute to rates. You could see the Time Bank really spurring the development of that.
I think it gets people understanding what a complementary currency is, and it's like flybys and things like that. People are quite capable of doing several.
Yeah.
So it's not as though one or the other.
Yeah.
It's both and.
That's great. Yeah. Andrew.
Thanks for your presentation, Margaret, and great to hear the Lyttelton Time Bank's doing so well. 670 members. I remember coming to a gathering where the Time Bank had its 300th member, I think it was, and that doesn't seem like too long ago, so well done. You see this obviously as a way of council doing things very differently, and you mentioned community facilities and parks and gardens and so on as ways that we could do that. And those sort of comments actually align perfectly with things that we've got in our activity management plans in this draft long-term plan. But do you see this as a way that we could strengthen existing arrangements where people are already, for example, maybe on reserve management committees or doing other work in communities that could be seen as the council's area of operation?
I think it's a shift in people's understanding. Like I was in the village the other day and someone looked and said, this needs to be done, the council hasn't done this. And I'm thinking, no, this is us, this is our town, we do it. So it's helping shift that view. I think we've been for too long being some other organisation's going to do stuff for us. I think we as citizens need to look after our own and do it. So it's one way of strengthening that, I see.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you. I reviewed your written submission. One of the issues regarding to the sales of asset, because you mentioned the off-street parking could be sold. And also, by you mentioned the council, the community outcome, they have livable city and prosperous economy. If a council, to sell this off-street parking, how to achieve the community outcome of livable city and a prosperous economy?
I have to apologise, but I haven't heard your question entirely.
My question very simple is because you recommend the off-street parking can be sold, you consider could be sold by the council because it's not a strategic kind of assets. But you also mentioned the council community outcome, you know, two outcomes is a livable city and a prosperous economy. If we council consider to sell this facility of off-street parking facility, how to achieve this outcome?
I need to pause here. The submission was put in by our group and I've come to submit on the time bank part, so I'm not really well informed on that part of our submission, so I'm sorry I can't really respond to you.
Thank you, Margaret. I'll just let Ali...
Very quickly, you mentioned in your submission, we agree that key facilities should be prioritised for repair and rebuild. Facilities that are no longer relevant or used by a community should be sold. Do any come to mind?
Again, I'm answering the same question. I've come prepared to talk about time banking. So...
oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yep. Did you have a time banking question? Yep.
Thank you, Margaret. I'm a member of the Addington Time Bank group, and I guess one of the features for me is like a number of elected members is the time frame, and I probably had more time when as a community board member. I'm just wondering, besides us being involved at sort of a council level, and I'm thinking of ways that we might be able to do that too, is the scope for, is your community board already involved, and is the scope for other community boards perhaps to be involved in time banking too, do you think?
I think very much so, they could be. At the moment, no, this is our first foray into local body politics. We do work with people that are community board members and probably pay them in time credits personally rather than sort of as a council. But we haven't done that a lot of potential.
I certainly think there'd be a lot of interest in exploring how that could be done. So, and I think that was your penultimate slide was, you know, to set up a working party to see how that would look.
Yeah.
After having committed in principle. So that's something we'll consider in the deliberation on the long-term plan.
That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have video link. So this is